Okay, we're recording. Oh, great. Can we turn this screen so it can face us a little bit as we're, can this?
Well, here, no, we can just do.
Oh,
Do that. Yeah, we're good. And I think you can use it for.
There's something really exciting.
Perfect. Yeah. Yes. Okay, we're gonna get started. Yeah. Physical therapy.
Physical therapy
For 30 years. And
Ego.
early.
Achievements. Going to higher education to reach the opportunity to the program coordinator of Jaguar today. Thank you.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Hi, everybody, welcome. We're here to talk about Jaguar jumps, as Mary Kate said. I'm Robbie O'Shea, and I was recently retired professor at Governor State in physical therapy. And Michelle Sabasco is my counterpoint and at the university. And quite honestly, when I was here last year, we presented as a vendor, and then Mary Kate invited us back to talk in a panel. And I said, well, Michelle and I can talk the story of Jaguar jumps, but that's kind of boring. So I invited our panelists who are alumni and currently in the program. One young man who was with us this morning got the flu, so we asked him to stay home. And one young man who's an alumni sent a video, so we'll see the video at the end. Okay, so Michelle and I are going to bounce back and forth for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then Ben and Mary Kate and Anthony will introduce themselves a little bit about why they wanted to do Jaguar jumps, what it meant to them, and then we'll field questions about the program. So as we're going through, if you could all think of questions, especially if you have a neighbor, a high school student, post-high school students, anybody that you can think of that might be appropriate for the program, or you just have questions in general. So the first couple minutes is just Michelle and I talking about what is this thing called Jaguar jumps. So basically it's a transition program for people who are in high school or post. So we like to set the bar at about 17. So you can still be in high school and in the transition program and take classes at the university. It's variable. So we try to set up the first semester, 10 weeks is everybody does the same thing. The second semester, we do something different and we'll talk about that. Basically, some high school programs are very successful and others aren't. We can say that some families are very variable. And so some plan for high school and some are like, ooh, what do you mean? The bus didn't come today. What am I supposed to do with our student? And they're like, yeah, the bus is never coming again. And so they're in turmoil a little bit. And then higher education is variable. You have certificate programs, you have community colleges, you have colleges, you have 4-year degrees. Now we have hybrid, we have online, we have in-person. And so I don't want anybody to think limiting, like, oh, I can't go to college because whatever reason you come up with. Because Michelle and I will come up with a reason why you could, why you can't, right? So some of the good work that we've done, though, that I wanted you to know about is this really just started with a program at the Center for Independence, which is a whole nother day's talk. And they have an young adult program, and Governor State University is in what we call the Southland of Chicago. So northern Will County, but not a lot around as far as programming goes. It's not in the heart of Chicago. And so we sit outside Chicago about 48 minutes or 48 miles. And so there was this group of people that wanted to be involved, and they were starting to get going. And then this little thing that crept into our lives called COVID ruined everybody's life, and it sent everybody home. And for folks that are really doing things for social and educational reasons, that really just turned the world upside down. But not to fear, we took it over. So they're at the library, and that group is called Label Us Able. And they're still functioning as a social group, and they do really cool things as a social group at the Flossmoor Library. But we took that because some of the participants in Label Us Able were like, we have buddies going to college, and we want to go to college. And truth be told, people want to go to college to get the college ID, because that gets you cool stuff. Baseball games, basketball games, the theater. But it really gets you an in to say, I have a college ID too. So I started talking with Ann Jackson, was running that program, and I started talking about that at GSU, and it came into a meeting Michelle, who works over in the community education side. And she said, we could do that through our community ed. Oh, this is brilliant, because then we can do both. We can be a little bit more flexible. So what the long title is, this is like, your name. If you're a racehorse, you have your really official name. And then we have our short name called Jaguar Jumps. But it's really post-high school advancement for folks who have some sort of intellectual or developmental disability. Okay. Who do we serve?
So the past few semesters, we launched this program in spring of 2021. And in the spring of 2021, as you all recall, we were in the height of the pandemic. And so we were able to serve 10 students through Jaguar Jumps 1, which is that introduction to Jaguar Jumps. We served them through Zoom, primarily through Zoom. We did different engagements and different activities through Zoom. We started to transition in the fall of 2021 to more of a hybrid modality. We served 4 students for Jaguar Jumps 1, so those were our brand new students. And then for the Jaguar Jumps 2 program, which is the second semester, we served 2. So we have some more success to share about those 2 students as well. And then in the spring of 22, we had 1 student served for Jaguar Jumps 1. So far it's a modest start, but it has a wonderful idea. And we've served a total of 17 students so far.
And so what these students have is some sort of disability. And typically, wow, it's not gravity like myself. And typically they're over 17. And we hit the bar at 17 was because that's when, if you're in high school and in a primarily a special education program or a mixed program, you might start to be thinking about transitioning. And that's where it actually gets a little scary for every 17-year-old. Like, what, I have to leave the nest of high school and go out on my own? Yee. And so we were looking for people who were seeking options and opportunities for what happens after high school. So in my physical therapy world, I would say 22, what do I do? And quite honestly, I do 0 to 3-year-olds, and I start when they're 3. Like, what are you gonna do when you grow up? And that's mostly for their parents, because time flies. I mean, some parents here, time flies, and all of a sudden the kids are 22, and they're like, how'd you get to be this old? And so on Jaguar Jumps 2, as we'll talk about, is we do an intro, kind of that Jaguar Jumps 1 intro semester, and 2 is, do you want to work or do you want to go to school? Sitting home is not an option unless you're roommates with somebody who's really wealthy and likes you a lot. And then I'm like, sit home all the time. It's usually not their parents. Okay, so here's what the program deliverables are. I would say the first one, their IDs were issued. Everybody got a GSU ID. Talk to most of the folks, that was a really exciting thing because they got their college ID. Okay. We had students have access to all the university services and resources. So whatever that is that every other college student that's registered at GSU is getting, Jaguar Jumps get. And Michelle helped make that happen. Michelle also helped make happen some unpaid internships. So we look at people one-on-one and say, what do you want to do? GSU is nice because we're nimble enough and we have one cafeteria, and Michelle and I can then sit in the cafeteria and stalk people and be like, we got a student and they need you. So for instance, Elijah you'll meet is now doing he's actually taking classes and has an internship with the communications, and he wants to be a sports broadcaster. Anthony was able to help at the theater handing out programs. And he'll talk a little bit about what he's designing in his conference later. As far as the academic side goes, we created within the university system, the QR code that you see at the bottom of every screen is, if you click on that, and at the bottom of these handouts, you click on that, that immediately brings you to the registration page. Okay, for our young people, I don't really know what all that means, but for the young people, they're like, where's the QR code? I'm like, here's my phone number, you call me. It's 10 weeks, 90 minutes per week. So 1 hour with a curriculum that we've designed, and then a half hour, we have a social worker who has cerebral palsy, who sits in on every class. And then Michelle and I leave the class, the Zoom class, and the social worker, Ani, takes over and really helps problem solve. She's gone through undergrad and graduate school with a disability. And so she helps problem solve. They talk about whatever they want to. And they can tell you more about that if they want. And then we collaborate across, you want to talk a little bit about the collaboration across the university?
Yeah, I was just going to mention for our student Elijah, he's not here today, but Elijah was really a collaborative poster child, right? So we were able to collaborate with School of Extended Learning to get him some education with regards to podcasting. So this really helped him to, bridge the gap and start doing some different things with his own podcasting. And we took those newly acquired skills and connected them to our sports broadcasting department. And so he's working with one of our faculty at JSU to assist with broadcasting all of our different sports events. So he's at the basketball games, he's at the soccer games, he's engaged, right? He's meeting the athletes, he's really out there and doing different things, which is that's going to keep him there, right? He's engaged. Other things that we have done in terms of collaboration across the university is, and you might have this in another slide a little bit later, we help connect students to opportunities to help fund their education. And maybe that's not traditional education. Maybe that's not university coursework or college coursework, but maybe that's career training through the School of Extended Learning to help students connect to programs like podcasting, programs like CompTIA preparation, right? So there's a lot of different things that these students can, dip into, and we try to help bridge that gap. And we're listening. We're always listening to these students and making sure that we're meeting them where they are, and helping them get to the next level, right? And to transition into work, into university, and into a career program, right?
So actually, what we do, this is what we do in the tenant. So we do a pre and post survey because Michelle and I think we do a great job. The students seem to think we do a great job, but the president's like, really, do you do a great job? And so they fill out a pre and post survey. We do a self-interest development because what do you want to do when you grow up? And a lot of students coming out of certain programs were never asked, you know, what do you want to do? They're just kind of told you can do this. And so we work within the realm of what we can. Netiquette, just because I think it's important. And so how do you, there's some great videos out there on how like not to be on a Zoom call. So we play those and we talk about why it's not really neat to eat potato chips and like make body function noises on Zoom. We talk about reasonable accommodations because this is what kind of started Michelle and I. The backstory is I had a student say to me, well, you know, two stories for you real quick. I had a student say to me, well, you know, Robbie, I went to college and I sat there and nobody helped me. I'm like, right, because we don't have IEPs at college. And they're like, what? I go, no IEPs at college. We also don't have parents at college. So if you live at home, we ask you to call the people you live with roommates. So you'll hear me on Zoom going, what's your roommate? Get your roommate. I can't understand you. Get your roommate. Or tell your roommate to quiet that dog. And so that was one of the things is that there's no IEPs. There's no self-help. I mean, it's all self-help at college. There's nobody there. So what do you do? And the other thing was to talk about the declaration. And I think it might have been one of these guys that said it. They're like, well, you know, you have to say, what do you need when you go to college? What do you declare? And one of the students is like, so does that mean I have to tell everybody that I'm gay? But no, we're at college. We don't care that you're gay. We don't care. But we do care that you need a note taker. We do care that you need an attendant in the bathroom and you want that person to be of same gender if that's important to you. So that's what we care about. But kids coming out of high school, they don't know what colleges care about. So we spend a week on what we care about at college. Then they do if somebody's using augmentative communication or is interested in that, we bring in some folks that talk about augmentative communication. We spend a lot of time on what club or organization are you interested in at the university. So they have to go and find a treasure hunt. What do you want to do while you're here at college? Which is kind of what we do with every freshman. It's like, please don't sit in your dorm room and cry that you miss your mom. Please get out there and do something. Then we do the breakout rooms, which I mentioned by Ani at the end. Our guest speakers, you know, we're at the end of the train line from Chicago. And so one of the things that was important to us is the RTA service has a lot of really cool programs about getting around Chicago and getting to the suburbs that don't include a school bus that comes to your door. It includes other transportation that comes to your door. So they come in and talk to the students and work with the students then individually on setting up transportation maps, and they've been great. I would say that one of the best things that we've ever did is Dr. Cheryl Green is new to the university. She started with COVID. The nice thing about that is she didn't really know what we did and didn't do as the faculty before COVID. So I convinced her that every semester she meets in person with the Jaguar Jump students. And she's like, I do. I'm like, you do. So she's like, okay. And so she's been great at meeting with, so she has a one-on-one in person or on Zoom, depending on where we are in the world, with the Jaguar Jump students. And they bring to her questions that concern them about being on the college campus. And Ben, I hope you'll share, or Anthony, when it's your turn, you'll share the question you had for Dr. Green that kind of set the world on fire at GSU. That's what he said. And then we introduced them to the program that Michelle was talking about, that Workforce Innovative Opportunity Act. If you're not going to take college classes, what are you going to do? Because you heard them say, I'm retired. That means they can't take the public money anymore because I'm taking the public money. So they got to work. And we worked a lot on resume writing and getting a LinkedIn presence.
Oh, I am.
What?
I have one. I have both LinkedIn.
So Ben has LinkedIn. Because really, if you're gonna get anywhere these days, you have to have a LinkedIn presence. That's just how it goes. So our outcomes were, Michelle already presented our students. Everybody has been able to gain some level of independence. They each get, you know, an education doing something. If you don't live in the Southland region, we tried to reach out to you. So we had a guy in Ohio when we first started, and we worked with him. We've had kids that live way up north, and one goes to Elmhurst College now. We had a young man who actually had a traumatic brain injury in high school. So his family entered the special education IEP world fresh. He was 17 when he entered the world, and they were kind of like, what is this? Like, they didn't know what was going on. And he's at Joliet Junior College now, studying. And so, but what we found was that there are lots of programs out there. There's one at UIC, Chicago City Colleges just started a really nice program. I don't know that it's kicked off the ground yet. But what we were aiming at is something that was local, it was affordable, attainable, accessible, all those words that we wanted that really met the needs of the student. Okay, and so there's lots of programs out there, but we were really looking at, can we be nimble? And that's why it was important for us when we started to be in continuing ed center. What we're working with the university now and with the provost's office, hopefully, is moving it into a university sanctioned permanent program that will have its own body, its own club, and GSU built new dorms. And so they're all ADA accessible. They have ADA ready to go accessible rooms. And in fact, one of the dorm administrators is a PT student. So he's gonna come in and talk to the students about staying in the dorms. And what does that take? So here's a video from Daniel. So he was one of our alumni. I think, can we click it or we have it launched? We have it launched it's in the background too.
You can just click right there
On the link or on the video.
on the video.
It should be on. There it goes. No, it's on.
Okay, no,
Yeah, it did.
no, here's what I'm gonna do.
Is that for you guys? No.
Is this, oh no.
Yeah, it used, I think, drag it over.
All right, here.
Oh,
Pause, please. Right now, does anybody have any questions for Michelle and I? Because after Daniel's video, we're gonna hand it over to.
oh, then here, yes.
Yeah. How are we funded? Great question. $200. If you show up with $200, show up $300, we'll talk to you and take you out for coffee, right? If you show up with $200, so the program is $200 for 10 weeks each semester. We have some sliding fee scale. We're working with Department of Rehab Services and doors. So the problem with doors is they like a 4-credit class. And I said, well, we can run a 4-credit class. We would call it a 1-credit-hour class. That's going to cost doors whatever the 1-credit-hour class tuition is at Governor State right now. And I have to guarantee at least 6 bodies registered in the class. So if I keep it in continuing ed and it's 200, then we can work on community grants or just people paying for tuition. Oh, hold on. Yep. All right, let's watch Daniel's video.
My name is Daniel. I'm 22 years old. I graduated from Barrington High School in 2018, and also I graduated from Barrington Transition Program on December of 2020. Currently, I am seeking admittance to college. Actually, I've just been accepted for admission into the Elmhurst Learning and Success Academy at Elmhurst University.
What were some of the barriers you faced in preparing for and entering a post-high school learning environment?
A difficult time figuring out colleges that will accept students with physical disability without having to live on campus.
What resources were or were not there to assist you?
Each day I need a name to be comfortable to handle me on campus, but colleges don't provide that. That's an obstacle for me.
What do you need for future success?
I need to have people give me a chance to be able to do fascinating and amazing things in my life. No matter how long it takes.
What are your life goals for the next few years?
There is a start college in fall. Work hard on my assignments. Become more independent and make new friends.
Did Jaguar jumps help to advance your goal?
I have enjoyed Jaguar jumps tremendously, and it pulled me out of fear of college courses. Because of it, I can get out my career dreams, and it is saving me from a lot of headaches due to not knowing how to handle for homework assignments.
What do you want the world to know about Governor State?
State University has great teachers who advocate compassionately for people like me. Jaguar jumps gave me a great experience with college life.
Okay, so that's Daniel. He couldn't be with us because he's setting the world on fire over at Elmhurst College. But he did that all himself on his, I asked each student to put together a collage, of what they like to do. And that he produced that all himself. I think that was his sister talking, captioned it all because he knows on the communication device, sometimes it's hard to hear. So he did all of that as his kind of like Jaguar Jumps project. So I think that was pretty much the end. We save him for the end. Okay. So our growth plan really now is to make real good connections and help doers understand why they need to pay for a college degree or a college program like this. Okay. The other thing is that we are looking for grants. So if anybody happens to have some money in their pocket they want to give to the university, we're happy to take it, and they will give you a letter of donation, I am sure. And then actually we've already done this, is that we've created a small scholarship so we can be inclusive of everybody. So if the $200 is a reach for folks, then we help them figure that out as much as we can. And we've been pretty successful with that. So there's our contact. Again, the QR code gets you right to the registration. We have some handouts up here, so don't leave without those. But right now, I'm going to introduce you to the most important people. Ben Panaccio, Mary Kate Delcanton, and Anthony Beasy. And I'm going to turn it over to them. They will field questions, but at first I want them to say like 2 or 3 minutes or sentences about themselves, okay? Anthony, you want to go first?
Hi, everyone. I'm Anthony Beebe, and I'm 30 years old. And I work the word. I know Bobby. It's was fun. it is very changed.
Changed his whole life. Thanks, Anthony. All right, Mary Kate, want to introduce yourself?
I'm looking again. I'm looking. You doctors and you. God, but you the one who does check about the country and you're thank you, what do you,
Right. And you said, what do you like?
I go the questions. If you don't have to have transportation, it just without learning. They tell me what they I want to go back and look. So they tell me what I need to do those.
Right. So we try to keep it online or as in a hybrid program. So sometimes we can get, even though 100% online students, which is how we've been running it for now, we try to get to campus 2 times just to meet with the president for one and then do a social activity or something. You know, sometimes the snow gets in the way.
You good one. What you can do the teach transit conference. There's the interesting you're like, what? What's going on? You don't know puppies.
Right.
I'm like, yeah.
So Mary Kate got us involved in this conference as well, which has been fantastic. And like I said, last year when I came, I was like, where are all the people that are supposed to be transitioning? And so Mary Kate helped me write the proposal, then to bring the panel in. All right, Mr. Panaccio, do you want to introduce yourself, Ben?
Yeah.
Got to talk loud to the crowd.
My name is Ben Panaccio. I did jumping Jaguars.
Last year.
Last year, and I really like that program because they helped me understood that there's more to life than just transition and just going through the high school transition program, because they helped me realize that, you know, I can go to college and I can do all these things, and it's a really good program, and I liked it, so it was fun for me.
Question that they asked you.
The president. Oh, Ben
Oh.
and Anthony.
Yeah,
Do you want to, so we met with Dr. Green in person. And again, she was like, I usually meet with legislatures and you, yeah, online, you met with her online, right? So we've all met with the president, but Ben and Anthony, and why don't you speak for the crowd? What question did you ask her?
I asked if what was it, the bathrooms, if they were like accessible,
Single gender.
single gender bathrooms, but if there were like, if there was enough room for like the chair to get like in. And she said, what did she said, I don't know, she was work on that. I think they did work on that. I think they hired like a chief of staff or something.
So what happened was Ben asked the question, not only were they accessible, but were they single gender? And Dr. Green said, well, that's an interesting question, Ben. Why would you ask if they were single gender? Do you remember what you said about your attendant?
For like a male A.
Yeah, so he said his attendant at the time was a female and he was a male and he didn't feel comfortable, especially in a college setting, going into the girls' bathroom. And he certainly didn't want his female attendant in the guys' bathroom. So what's a guy to do if you want him to come to class all day? And so she took that under advisement, and they now have a person on her staff called, her chief of staff is really looking at, accountability and accessibility on campus. And not just so can you get into the bathroom and are the stalls big enough, but are people welcome, no matter what their situations are, to use the restrooms easily? So that was their guy's question. So does anybody have a question for Ben or Mary Kay or Anthony? Audience?
Your future goals.
Probably,
So Gabi's asking, how did the Jaguar jumps help you plan for your future goals?
probably.
So what do you want to do, Anthony?
I wanted.
You want to help other people? What are you designing on your computer these days?
I am. Correct. The person.
So Anthony, we're working with Anthony in the GSU print shop so he can print paper cards, of which the president reminded us you would be the first person to place an order, but also digital cards that he could sell on Etsy and things.
Well, that's cool.
So Ben, what's your future plans? And then we'll get to Mary Kay. What's your future plan?
My future plan is to go into law school and become a lawyer for people with special to help them with whatever they so desire.
And Mary Kay, what are your future plans?
Go to college. Go to college.
To go to school and to work. And so what we've done, I think what we've done in Jaguar Jumps is to not to expect, oh, what it's 22, what are you going to do? Put folks with disabilities on a college campus where there's several hundred individuals struggling with that same question. Oh my goodness, I'm out of high school. And sometimes the students at GSU are first generation college. So they don't have the support at home to go home and ask their parents and their grandparents, like, what did you study? Or da, da, da. And in fact, sometimes the families are looking at them going, what do you mean you're not working in the family business? What's this college thing? We need you to help in the family business. And so they find themselves in like community and to really build a community and to give them expectations that aren't limiting. And then Michelle and I feel very strongly that it's our job behind the scenes to make pathways. So we are not going to teach a class forever. We're not going to go out there and teach Elijah how to run a video camera and Anthony how to get his cards printed and Ben how to get to law school and Mary Kate how to get to grad school. But we'll set you in front of people and say who can help. And so for Elijah, Mark, his boss said, well, the booth at the games isn't accessible. And Elijah drives a power chair. And Elijah and Mark came up together and said, what about a roving reporter in the stands? So now GSU has their first ever roving reporter that runs around in the stands and interviews the fans, which are the students.
What do you mean? What's that?
What do I mean is that they mic'd Elijah up and he has a mic now and he drives his power chair around and he can't get back up into the booth where the scorekeepers are, but he can get down on the ground. And so when there's a break in the basketball game, he can interview the players. So they come to him now. And now he then takes that footage and makes podcasts.
Where does he watch again?
Courtside.
Oh, but
Yeah, he's got the good seat.
yeah.
And Anthony?
I have thought, but I have been to one. If I take a bed to that. So Bobby was the one who invited me and my mom to the cooking to see what it was. Yeah.
So in academic terms, that means that as a class, they figure out one project that they can do together and using the RTA. So originally, Anthony's class was that we were going to take public transportation to Wrigley Field because they'd all been to White Sox Park, whatever they call it, guaranteed rate.
Guaranteed rate, but you call
Thank you.
it. Because of visitors.
Yeah, so, but it was more of a challenge in power chairs to get to Wrigley Field. Unfortunately, with the weather and then COVID and then flu, we ended up just meeting at the park. But they then had to negotiate how to get into the park, their tickets, how to get drinks and their beverages and whatever they wanted to do. We had the parents come along just for more liability than anything. And then we asked the parents to stay low and let the students figure it out. And so I think that was a pretty successful, but if we set something up, each cohort does something different. It really depends on the cohort and what they want to do. So Mary Kate's cohort, you just met at the university and we did some things at the, there was a play, right? Or something?
Yeah. USD. Come in. They use this.
Oh, for the students, right. So in the PT curriculum, I asked them to come and help the PT students learn about cerebral palsy and feel tone. And so anybody that comes to that lab, Anthony just did it last week, they get to run the class. So they get to be the college professor for the week. And it's great for the students because they can actually feel stuff. So any other questions about what Jaguar Jumps is or how we could help yours, any students or family that you all know, get involved. Anything you wish. So like if you're like, oh, that's a really nice program, Robbie and Michelle, but if it could only do this, then it would be a spectacular program. Hey, Anthony? Did you find the social opportunities that you think some college students have? Do you find that at Jaguar Jumps where there's social opportunities?
Yeah.
Did you learn something academic a little bit?
Yeah.
All right, shoot, we covered all bases. Anything that we can ask, you guys can ask or offer? Yes.
I feel like it gives you more confidence to pursue your college or work life? Like, did it break down barriers or did it address the barriers that kind of scared you about?
I would say yes.
Do you want to give an example of a strength you learned or help break down some barriers or something you're planning to do in the future where skills at Jaguar Jumps is going to help you?
I would say like, just be like honest in what you want to do, but don't push it all the way. Just be like honest and just tell them what you want to do because it's your choice and it's your life and they're not in control of it. So.
Are you talking about your high school
Yeah.
program or the governorship? Or both?
Both.
So I think that's a big switch that we really try and to focus on is that it's your life. And so whereas in high school, it's pretty scripted to give and practice with the students. Like if you're going on a job interview or you're going to sit in a class, because these again are not special ed classes, they're regular college classes. What do you need to be successful? Anthony?
And well, I
Really? You need more help from your parents? We will help you advocate at the family council.
I not do.
Right. So sometimes we give people confidence too, to address and not be whining. That was one of the conversations we had one time was you can't whine and be like, I want. But what do you need? And as an adult, how do you negotiate that and say, this is what I need? And sometimes folks who have articulation difficulties, it's really easy just to pitch your phone across the room. And really then you just end up with a broken phone. So how do you solve that a little different? Did you want to answer her question about? Did it give you any skills or confidence?
I told to the answers what you need to cause you for successful
So what did you do?
for you what you need to do in the one project you need to bring a classroom.
To make it successful.
To make it, so what, how do you make yourself successful in the classroom? Yeah,
What you need to
what do you think to be in successful in the classroom? So in college, if you take a college class, for each of you, what do you think you would need as far as anything to be successful in a classroom and get A's or B's?
computer program I can
A computer,
program.
a computer program you could work with. Okay, Ben, what do you think you would need to be successful on a college campus?
I would say, a note taker and probably a computer. that-
All right, so some technology and a note taker.
Yeah,
Anthony, what do you think you need to be successful to be at a workplace, if you were gonna go to a workplace?
I would have to get the jobs in a hybrid airport.
Okay, so it's a way to keep track of time. So these are some of the things we kind of think about. And then my follow-up question to them, which may take 2 or 3 weeks to work on, is how you're gonna get there. So who do you have to meet with in disability services to get a note taker? Who do you have to meet with in IT to get computer stuff at the help desk? How do you get transportation? These are questions that the university has, some of them you have to find yourself. And then for Anthony, how do you get a timer to make sure at work you're on task and being paid for your time?
I have one on my iPad.
And you have one on your iPad. Fantastic. Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Not of you, of the audience. And what's your biggest accomplishment that you guys are most proud of this year? Let's start with Mary Kate.
We did Jaguar. We did Jaguar to here. Good. Oh, Becky, what do you I can do? No, conference.
Right, so Mary Kate says bringing Jaguar jumps to the conference, because we had no idea as a PT and continuing ed person that this conference even existed, and I don't think the conference knew Jaguar jumps existed. So it's good. Now they know. Now they know. Anthony, what would you say your biggest accomplishment was through Jaguar jumps?
I
Meeting with the president and getting to know her, and I want to add prepping to meet with the president.
And this, building up the courage and the, what it is that you want to say and formulating your thoughts. These are things that we really nurtured in the classroom and on the Zoom and stuff like that to help our students articulate their thoughts, their needs, the facility needs. And one thing I do have to share with Governor State is that all of the bathrooms are being renovated now, right? They're all being totally remodeled. So I attribute that to Ben, right?
We're taking credit for that.
Totally taking credit.
Wonderful.
It's, so it's, helping the students really be able to formulate their thoughts and articulate. It's nerve-wracking for anybody, right? To meet a president of a university. And the bravery that these students have shown has been tremendous, and they've grown so much, in the program. So
So Ben, what do you think your big accomplishment is?
My biggest accomplishment was taking COD class.
So getting to take a,
Yeah.
feeling confident to take a
COD
college level class.
College level class,
And
either at COD or at
So, yeah. And what do you think, you're gonna do in the future, like in the next month, Ben, especially? How do you think the skills you've learned at Governor State are gonna help you in your, meetings coming up, coming up?
I will apply them into my IEP when I talk to my school about my future. In transition.
Yeah, so Ben's gonna take some of the lessons he learned and he's gonna run the IEP meeting. His high school doesn't know that yet, but he's with a presentation already and advocate, because I said to him, well, if you wanna be a lawyer, let's pretend that you're in front of the Supreme Court, which is a school, advocating for kids with disabilities in the state of Illinois. So this is his first case presentation. He'll let us know how it goes. But it's kind of that real life experience. Any other question? That was a great question. Thank you. Any other questions that we can answer?
I was it's a question too.
Jaguar jumps too?
I was enough.
I didn't catch it. Sorry.
It was part of the two.
Part of the two. Yeah. So the first Jaguar jumps 1, we go through that list of 10 things that we did. Jaguar jumps 2 is the first day we sit down and we're like, okay, you did the 1. You want to do it again? Welcome. But 2, school or work? Where are we going? And so that's why with Ben and with Anthony next semester for Jaguar jumps 2, where are we going so we're gonna work on an employment plan with Anthony. What does that take? What do we need to do? And with Ben, school plan, what does that take? Where he's already taking classes at COD. There's lots of interesting rules that families don't know about like transitioning from any kid, transitioning from a community college to a 4-year university and dual degree programs and which universities have linkages. So we'll help him figure that out. If he ends up at Governor State, we'll be thrilled. And we just actually, President Green just signed a collaborative agreement with SIU Law School. So it's a nice pathway for him, but he may choose to go to DePaul. And, but we'll smooth that for him. But so that second semester is very individualized. And that's where you either work with Michelle or you work with the faculty. And then we find classes, freshman level classes like Elijah is taking. There's a history class, an education class, but it's all music based. And your last capstone in that class, the only assignment is putting together a montage, having an argument, and then finding songs that support that argument. And so that's one that we send the students to, because the faculty is very welcoming and it's a fun class. And she doesn't care what music you use. So if it's explicit music, if it's country music, or she doesn't care, but your argument, and it has to be supported by music across the generations. And then they present that. So we'll try to get them hooked in for classes that are welcoming. So they have a good first year experience. Too. Any other? You have 5 minutes.
Even if you guys, we would like to invite, sort of have an understanding of what we're doing now and what our intentions are for our students. If you have suggestions for a way for us to grow, or we welcome those comments too. So questions, comments, anything like that, we would welcome today. We would also welcome a conversation on partnership. If there is an opportunity for us to partner with you or your organization, we would be very grateful to explore that with you guys. So I do have flyers. I am going to pass these out. So each of you will get one, right? But we do want to comments, questions. We want to open them for all the above.
We'll be hanging around here at the end, but I want to thank you guys for coming today. Right before lunch, it's fantastic. I want to thank the panelists because you should have seen when Mary Kate asked me to do this and I said, I'll do it, but I'm not talking the whole time. The deer in the headlights look, I'm like, you want us to do what? So I do want to say thanks to these guys for coming down, spending the day. And I do really want to thank Governor State University for taking a chance and continuing to support us. It's super important so we can support the community as we are. That's our mission at GSU. So thanks again for your attendance. Really appreciate it. Michelle.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Gave you every opportunity to talk. I tried to.
So, I mean,
We were recording, so I didn't want to push it too much.
I mean, I wouldn't. Since we were on the recording. You know.
Thank you, because you know, that comes back to bite you. And did you get a flyer?
Everyone real quick.